We begin at the world-famous Experimental Energy Research Laboratory, where a couple of scientists are expositioning about their latest invention, some kind of electrocells that will solve all the Earth's energy problems. No sooner do the geeks in lab coats finish patting themselves on the back than, you guessed it, the Decepticons crash in and steal the thing. Really, guys, you invented a powerful new energy source. What did you think was going to happen? You were asking for it. Starscream reaches in to grab the thing, but Megatron won't allow it.
Electrocells are too ticklish to withstand your heavy-handed mauling.
Did he just say they were too ticklish? I think he did. To ensure that no more electrocells can be produced, Megatron destroys the world-famous Experimental Energy Resource Laboratory. But in the finest traditions of the sister show, G.I. Joe, the scientists safely parachute out before the explosion. We cut ahead to some time later. Cliffjumper reports that he spotted the stolen electrocells in a location that Mirage claimed was empty only the day before. I point out the fact that we jumped ahead for a reason. We're suddenly just thrown into this whole Mirage is a traitor shtick without warning. You'd think it would be more effective if we had a little build-up or something. But nah, there's no time for that. We'll just open with Cliffjumper distrusting Mirage right off the bat and fill in the reasons later. Or maybe not at all. Prime handles the accusations like any sensible manager or daddy would. He blows them off and tells the kids to play nice. And while this is probably how I would have handled it, it doesn't exactly make for compelling television, seeing the supreme leader of the virtuous Autobots, the mighty warrior Optimus Prime, saying things like, "We don't want any bad feelings." Meanwhile, Starscream makes his usual bitchy claims about how everything would be different if he were in command. He yanks the controls from the overly cautious Megatron and performs a test on the energy cells, which immediately backfires. Megatron threatens to destroy Screamer for his insolence, then we cut away for about a full minute. When we come back, Megatron's suddenly distracted by a shiny object and the issue's not spoken of again. "One of these days, Starscream, I'm gonna punch you in the face." The Autobots attempt to take the electrocells back, but then the Insecticons show up, so who knows what the hell happens next. Yeah, I really don't like those guys. Best I can tell, the electrocells are dangerous to play near, so the Autobots leave. For some reason. Mirage returns to the scene of the crime and begins a plan that's actually fairly well thought out. Using a Decepticon insignia that he acquired during the fight, he proceeds to turn the Insecticons and Decepticons against each other. And it would have worked too if it hadn't been for that meddling Cliffjumper. You see, Cliffjumper's played by Casey Kasem, who also did the voice for Shaggy, and Mirage played by Frank Welker, who also did the voice of Freddy. Skip it. Did I mention how much of a beating poor Skywarp takes in this episode? But that's pretty much all I have. Sometimes I run into an episode that's fairly linear, features some decent character development, and on the whole isn't astoundingly ridiculous. But I've watched ahead, and trust me, this won't be happening a lot. And now it's time for this week's science lesson. According to the scientists who created them, electrocells are dangerously unstable and could set off a chain reaction at any moment. But then, maybe not. Hey, they just created the things. You can't expect them to know how they work.
An electrocell! Come to Papa!
Not so fast!